Honey, we're home.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Honey, We're Home.
We're home, ding dong.
That's my favorite part of our intro music, but your favorite part is the part. Yeah.
I don't use that part in our intro music.
The ding dong?
Yeah, I haven't used that
like you
since
can always tell
23
who edited it because I use the ding dong. If you guys were curious.
You do?
Yeah, because it goes ding dong, or ding dong, honey, we're home, blah, 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 blah. And I like that because I'm like, it's something more than just club music.
Yeah, I just use the club
but
music.
one day we'll have a new intro.
Remember we asked people and nobody sent anything.
Yeah, Nikki and I just had our 2025 goal list and we didn't put new intro on there because we have 1,000 other things to do first. So
and that didn't count. We still need to do goals.
Yeah, I don't think it counted either. It was like a quick situation. But anyways.
We still have all of January. Okay, so this episode will be coming out in February technically because we're at the end of January.
Yeah.
But why has this month felt 17 years long?
It's felt 17 years long. It also doesn't feel like any January I've ever had before. Like, this feels like a bonus December for some reason. Like, or it's like a middle month. Like, it's an interim month. Like, I didn't get my reset January time.
No.
I didn't do any of the stuff that I usually do where I'm hermited in January and it's feels like the start to a new year. I've been grinding and traveling and stressed and just trying to stay alive for what feels like 10 years.
Yeah, Mike and I were saying that last night. We were like, gee, I think the whole world, just as a general consensus, we've all decided that this January just doesn't count. Like the start of the new year is
January. Yeah.
Yeah, because the fires, it was an election year, the inauguration, everything, just this January wasn't real. And it's just nobody has their shit together
That's a good point also, though, that's there's so much. Usually January is an unplug month because you focus internally, right? You're what am I going to do different this year? What am I resolute? But there's so much going on in the world. You literally cannot afford to unplug.
So much going on. Well, I will say it's better than
if you weren't paying attention this January, you would look really.
Yeah, you have to pay attention.
Yeah, you need to pay attention.
My last January, if we all recall, though, this one's already better than for me personally.
Better? Yes, just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened to my family? My husband sliced his entire arm open.
January.
And that was a life-changing, still to this day, he has no feeling in his hand, in his right hand. He sliced his arm open in a freak accident. And then Louis just got deathly ill and we were sleeping on the floor in Louis' poop of the vet. And that all happened within the first week of January.
That's how you knew 2024 was going to be a doozy.
Insane. And then literally a week later, Louis swallowed a ball at the park and we were back at the emergency vet. And I was just this January can fuck off.
What? Why?
So we're better now.
Louis just being let me swallow this ball.
It was one of those small balls. So if you're a dog park person and you have a small dog, that's totally fine. Louis gets along with dogs of all sizes. But my biggest pet peeve from being a big dog owner is when people bring small little balls to the parks because those are so easy for big dogs to just swallow. And there's a specific brand. It's a green ball with a smiley face on it that the vets were oh yeah, we see at least 5 of these come in per week being swallowed because they just are easily swallowable, I guess.
Yeah.
And so Louis, he had one in his mouth and suddenly it wasn't in his mouth and it wasn't at the park. And we were God, it's in his belly. And it was an accident. I mean, he doesn't he's not a ball swallower.
But when you stack up last January to this January, personal life reasons, it's better.
Yeah.
It feels better.
Yeah.
The world feels worse, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy on an internal basis.
Yeah.
A little more resilient, a little.
I feel you and I, we both said our words for the year were focus. Do we have any other words?
I have to stick with one word because if I go to 2 words, then I have 10. I'm so ADD, and then, none of them get done.
Yeah, so you're just...
And in the spirit of focus, I'm focusing on the one word.
I feel like you do seem more focused.
Thank you. The word of the year works for me, but I can only have one.
So I still need to finish all my goals. I still need to
Yeah, me too.
finish the vision board. Well, I did the vision board.
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I did mine.
I'm doing it this weekend because John's like going away.
It was kind of like fun. You're gonna like doing it. This was kind of like my low-key my first year like actually making one.
Yeah.
Did we talk about vision boards?
I don't know. I mean, last time I did, I don't even know if I did one for 2024, but in 2023 I put like Good Morning America on it, and that's the year I went on CBS.
No, that's insane.
And that was like a shot in the dark. I was like, this is a bucket list item for me, or like I would love to dip my toe into what it feels like to be on the set for broadcasting.
That's insane.
Which we all know I loved, and it just happened out of the blue. So I believe in them very strongly.
I've had like manifestation moments like that have been so super random. Like sometimes I girl boss too close to the sun and like manifest the wrong thing. But the one that comes to mind like that, when like years before like this was even a thing, I literally randomly turned to Mike one day and I was like, you know, I used to love Nickelodeon as a kid. That like it'd be fun to like work for Nickelodeon, and wasn't even like living in New York yet, wasn't anywhere near that. And literally one day, like I saw a job opening when I moved up here and was like looking for a new job, and ended up working there for a year.
We should say that's a cool one. We should say like our things.
Yeah, I'm trying to
think
of
really
what
should.
else.
I like that. I have always had this like thing where I think it would be really cool, or like dream to like design for Mattel, like to design Barbie's wardrobe.
Speak it.
And I did my senior thesis on Barbie, like the whole thing. I reworked her entire wardrobe based on like cost effectiveness and regionality, and like, and I did a whole debrief on like how it changed in like 1992, like because they did fabric cutting costs and they used to do these collections with Bob Mackie and like Oscar de la Renta and like whatever.
What?
So,
how do you even remember your senior thesis?
I mean, well, it was 2 years of my life. I went to a magnet school. You couldn't get a degree without it. So like, it was like a small dissertation.
I don't even think I had
First day of junior year, they put you in a thesis class, and you're in it every day for junior and senior year of high school. Like, and you have mentors, and you have to present it to. It was kind of. I told John the other day, I was like, they really should have told us how that would have helped us in life. Like, if they had told me doing this is like, you know, practice for law school or any type of grad school where you have to do like extensive research and presentation, I would have had more confidence probably. Like doing those types of things.
Yeah, or like valued it more. Like I would have remembered what I was doing in college more. Memory loss.
There's a lot of context missing from those things. Like tell people how it's going to help them. Anyways, would love to design for Mattel. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So random though. You know what I mean?
You never know.
I feel like you have stuff.
Random things I've like the US Open. I literally told my managers last year, like, or even beyond last year, I was like, the one thing I want from you guys is like get me to the US Open. I just want to like get free tickets to the US Open. And then that happened literally the day before.
Right.
But happened.
And that was a really fun experience.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Other than that,
I think of bigger ones. Like I think it's being on a TV show is like cool for you.
Oh, you're saying things I want to manifest. I thought you meant like things I said in that
No.
Things
that you want to manifest. Like they're not random because when you say them, you're like, oh, I could see that for you. But they're things nobody could guess.
Yeah, I want to be on a TV show. Again, don't have to be the star, just in it.
I think you would love to like do a stand-up act once.
I'm scared of stand-up. You have to be a genius to do stand-up. I don't really think I could. My memory, does anybody out there have tips for like fostering good memory?
Fish oil.
Okay, I have fish oil at home, and I take it like sporadically, but not consistently.
It's supposed to be really good for that.
Okay,
and
well,
also,
I'm just gonna start
doing crossword puzzles apparently, and Sudoku is like really good for your memory because it stimulates that part of your brain to like be more active.
I'm gonna start doing that every morning. I'm gonna add it to the journaling lineup.
I went through an era. I don't know if you guys know this about me, that I'm like a severe hypochondriac. So, but like for other people, like I went through an era, well, myself too, where I thought like my parents were getting Alzheimer's. So, and this was when I was like 15. So I just was like, these are all the things you have to do. That's how I know those things.
Yeah.
Like I went down a really, WebMD was an era for me that was really, hard.
They say lion's mane too, which we had as a sponsor. Fungies.
The fungies.
Which I only know because I remember from doing the ads, but also when I lost my taste and smell, I was Googling how to get your taste and smell back because I never have had more gratitude for my health and my 5 senses. I wrote that in my gratitude journal this morning. What are you grateful for? My 5 senses.
That's a good one.
It was really like, truly, my 5 senses. Having no smell was like, honestly, the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And so it was like, take lion's mane to get it back because it helps like trigger your brain into like remembering your scent.
Did you take the gummies or the powder?
The gummies.
The gummy. I bodied all of those. Anyways, though, this is a year that we're all hoping that everybody, something they're manifesting comes true. It would be nice.
Pimple on my back that I was like trying to pop. No, the pimples are insane right now. Okay.
Yeah, mine are really bad, and I have one on like the back of my neck. And I'll
pop it after this.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a mailbag episode for you guys today because we have an email that Nikki found and sent to me and was like, this would be great. And I agree.
And by found, it quite literally popped up in the inbox. And I said,
yeah. And we've been wanting to talk about it, but usually we wait for something to fit into a subject. And we've been sitting on this one for a while. And so we've just decided that it's our episode today. And that's great for all of us. I'm going to read it. The context is Bachelorette. And it's being pregnant on your friend's Bachelorette. Like, that is the subject for today. And so let's get into it.
Which ladders into a lot of, like, friendship talk, which we know you guys love. And just, like, being pregnant and Bachelorette is truly, like, where I feel like we are, and, well, we're not there, but where we are and you guys are, like, somebody in our friend group is either getting married, planning their wedding, or pregnant, or all of the above. So, yeah.
And I think that we definitely have... I think there are definitely opinions and perspectives on like, this is an interesting one because it's how you need to be a certain way towards your friend as a bride. And as someone who's pregnant, you need to be take a certain approach as like the attendant of the trip. So it's kind of a cool subject. And then we also have some friendship lover wars for you, which are funny. Okay. Hi, ladies. To set up the scene, my husband and I got married in 2023 and are planning on going on the TTC journey at the start of the new year, aka like right now. She's probably doing it already. A lot of planning and conversations since last year went into this as we wanted to spend this year catching up on our finances after our wedding and buying a house. Finances for pre-baby is the number one thing that I think this generation has in common.
Yeah.
They say you're never ready, but I think this generation is like saying to the old generation, we understand what you're saying, but you're not understanding what we're saying. We can't afford the baby. So like put that where you will. His sister is also getting married in July 2025. I'm a bridesmaid, and we wanted to make sure that if I were to get lucky and to get pregnant on the first try, I'd be in the clear of being due around the same time as the wedding and still be able to fly while pregnant to the Bachelorette in May. I know it's a long shot to get pregnant on the first try, but we considered as many scenarios in our control, and we accept whatever is not in our control. Now, my question is it inconsiderate of me to be hypothetically pregnant on a Bachelorette trip? I had a brief conversation a while ago with the bride-to-be regarding speculation on another bridesmaid who might be pregnant. Turns out she is, but she's due in March, so right before the Bachelorette, I think. And I had asked, would it really matter if someone's pregnant at the batch? The bride-to-be said no, but it would be a weird vibe. And I left it at that. I wouldn't want to kill anyone's fun, but I also never thought a single pregnant person could throw off the vibes for a large group of 8. Would love to hear your thoughts. Sorry if it's long.
Yeah, lots of thoughts on this one.
I like this because this is all theoretical, so you can sort of play all of the angles.
Yeah. Well, first she was asking, like, her first question is, like in the first paragraph, she literally describes how she's worried about if she gets pregnant on the first try, then she might be pregnant on the Bachelorette. And first of all, this is her, just for more context, she said this is her future sister, or her sister-in-law, because she's married. Okay. So first of all, it's not even like one of her best friends, but it's her sister-in-law, which is still your family at this point, so important. The fact that she's even being this considerate about like when to plan her and her husband's baby is like shows that she's like a very considerate person, because I, for one, maybe it's just because like at this point I'm personally in the like, when it happens, it fucking happens, everybody be happy for me. But like, even if I wasn't at that point in my personal life, I still don't think, I think like babies trump wedding stuff. Sorry. Like, it's a family for the, like, I just, we get so many questions of people being like, but I feel bad if I'm pregnant at my friend's wedding. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
No, don't feel bad about that. Like, you're planning your family.
But I would have to say, like, I wouldn't be surprised a Virgo just based on the fact that everything she just said about the planning and the minuteness of like planning every scenario. I was like, I
would
love
never.
it. Like,
I would never.
I've already done it, and I'm like not even planning to like TTC soon, you know? So like, I think it's just probably the way her brain works. So while it's true what you said, I don't know if it resonates with someone who's like natural way of existing is to feel better by being able to plan stuff or like see what they can sort of think ahead for. And I also think the other side to it is like, if you're going through the scenarios and you're her, there's a selfish air to it that's like, it's easier for you to not be 9 months pregnant at somebody's wedding. Like, I wouldn't want to be 9 months pregnant at someone's wedding. And if it's a wedding I know I'm going to, and there's a scenario in which I could control it. Obviously, she said she knows that whatever is not in her control, they're like letting go of. But in this scenario that like what she's saying would happen, she's also saying, what would be the easiest for me? Like, well, it would be like, let's just play this out. It's probably easiest to go on a bachelorette trip in your second trimester. First trimester usually sucks. Third, you're more of a flight risk, and you're uncomfortable and everything hurts. So ideally, if you're going to go on someone's bachelorette, like I would say, it would be so nice if this aligned where I was in my second trimester. Or if I was going to someone's wedding, I would say it'd be either be really nice where I was in my first trimester and not showing yet. So like I could not have to stress about finding a dress, or I was in my second and I felt good. Those things I think make somebody feel better
like
to think about.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, and there are people like the Virgos who want to plan all that, but like truly, you even just like saying all that, I'm like too much fucking planning for me. Like I'll get pregnant and then I'll plan around that. My thing is like with her going on the Bachelorette, if she's still able to go, like if she's not too far along in her pregnancy to go, like to be allowed to go, we've talked about this before, like pregnant or not, sober or not, there's people that choose to be sober just for fun. Like you can still not kill the vibe and still be a fun person. And like as a bride, especially in our 30s now, like you just have to get used to there being like pregnant girls on these trips with you.
It won't be the first and it won't be the last.
Yeah. And if you're a good friend to them and they're a good friend to you, like you should have them there, still invite them. But for the love of God, we've talked about this. Like my biggest fear when becoming pregnant,
don't be exclusive of your pregnant friends. That's where we get into what I think the sister-in-law said that I think is to me more interesting than the planning of the girl. Thing? Yeah, like I just find what an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because that's where we get into the thing that you're fearful of. And it's where we get into the real conversation, which I wrote down too, is like, you as a bride, the rule of having a pregnant person on your bachelorette or pregnant friend in general is don't do what she just did. Like, don't treat them differently.
Yeah.
Or make them feel like they can't be included in things because they're pregnant. And with her one comment, she managed to do that about a hypothetical and then realized pregnancy of a friend, and also to imprint that thought in her sister-in-law's mind to the point where now it's like she's actively thinking about if she's even welcome on this trip.
That's the thing. Like I was going to say to the listener who wrote in, your sister-in-law, aka the bride, probably said that comment. Like, I'm assuming she just kind of like quickly said it without kind of thinking. Just like, no, but it might be a weird vibe. Which, like, this is going to sound bad, but like from the bride's perspective, I also do get why she could say that quickly. Because, like, yes, when shots are all of tequila are all being passed around and you and your friends are all taking them, and there's sparklers in the air. I'm literally picturing my own bachelorette in Tulum. Like, if there were a pregnant person with us, as the bride or as my friends, we would have probably been like kind of going out of our way to like worry about if our pregnant friend were like okay. Like there was one moment at this restaurant in Tulum at my bachelorette where sparklers were everywhere, and truly we were all like fearful for our lives. We were like breathing in smoke. Like
it's something.
My
like
friends and I like dropped to the ground. Like, it was, if you were pregnant, like I really don't think it would have been a good situation. But so that's probably what the bride meant when she said that. Like, it might be a weird vibe. She was probably just like flippantly saying it, but like you said, it probably did get in the listener's head. So that's why you just like don't, like you said, treat your pregnant friends differently. Like, try as much as you can to treat them the same while still being a little considerate of them. Like, if I were doing my bachelorette right now and I had a pregnant friend coming on it, I just know myself, and I'm very like, when I have friends over or like on trips, I'm very like hospitable. I'm like, I make sure they're having a better time than me, almost to the point, even if I am the bride, I'm like, so I would be like I would have my pregnant friend on the bachelorette, and I'd almost be like, are you sure you're okay with the boat day? You're sure?
That's the thing.
Like, I would be like,
there are two caveats here. It depends on the pregnant person. Like, it depends on the type of person. I'm so lucky to where my friends who are pregnant are like, they're still down for anything, and they just vibe out. They just like want to be around. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I've been really privileged in that way. And I don't know how I've just gotten by with that, having that experience with all of my pregnant friends. Now, that's where it's on like the person who is pregnant to evaluate, like, am I the type of personality that like is capable to still be like a great fun loving time when I'm pregnant, or am I having such a hard time in this pregnancy that like it's going to be miserable for me and therefore be miserable for everybody else? Because that is just a generic fact of a bachelorette, which is like, you know, if somebody's on your trip regardless and they're having a bad time, you're kind of like, I would have rather, if you were gonna have a bad time, I would have rather you stay home, because you would have had a better time at home, and then the bad vibe seeps into everything else, and then everyone's having a hard time and they don't want to see you having a bad time. So if that is the type of pregnancy you're having, you have to ask yourself, like, am I going to be fun? Am I down? Like, to, you know, write it out. How's my energy? Like,
I would add to that too, like, completely agree. Like, make sure your vibe is still going to be great, because at the end of the day, it's a trip, but with all your friends, but it's still for that bride to celebrate her. So I would also go as far to say, this might come off wrong to like pregnant women out there, but bear with me. It's easy to make, when you're pregnant, I feel like it's very easy to make your pregnancy all about, like life all about you, which makes sense. Like, we want to talk about your pregnancy. Everybody wants to know how it's going and everything. But I would say, like, if you're gonna choose one time to not make it about you, that would be the time.
But here's the thing. I think it starts with the bride. Like, I wrote down, the first action is it starts with the bride. The bride has to have this attitude in order for everything else to fall into place. Like, and this is a lesson we all need to be practicing in this phase of life. I just wrote down, like, accept your friends where they're at, because one day that will be you, and you will either be really grateful that you were inclusive of your friends in that phase of life, because then hopefully when it's your turn, they're being inclusive of you, you know, and you kind of get back what you put out, or you're going to be embarrassed that you're wanting your friends to be so inclusive of you while you're pregnant. Meanwhile, you are exclusive of them while they're pregnant. And maybe your friends are such good people that you know, you were exclusive or made comments, and then when you're pregnant, they still are inclusive of you because they've been there and they know how it feels. Or maybe they just don't feel obligated to be like inclusive of you or nice to you because you didn't bother to, you know, to give that grace and decency to them.
That's the thing. Like, whenever I have a pregnant friend, now that I've gotten older and I'm getting closer to that point myself, knock on wood, I go out of my way to now invite them to more, knowing that they're probably going to say no because they're like exhausted and just want to stay home. And that's okay. Like, let them, but still extend the invite, because I've seen it go the opposite way. We've all seen friends time and time again say, oh, don't even worry. Don't even bother about so-and-so. She won't want to come because she's pregnant. Like, but what if she wants to come?
Right. It starts with the friend. My mom always said that. She's like, invite them to more, be there more. And I, for one, had a fear that I was like, I don't want to bother them because they don't have time for me or this or whatever. And it's like probably looks inconsiderate or out of touch that I'm, you know, they're like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, that's the number one problem. It's like, that's not your decision to make. It's theirs. So as a friend, like, inclusivity is the original OG rule, because now it puts it in the pregnant friend's basket, which is like the next step, which is like, regardless of if the person who is pregnant can come to the event or not, feels like they have enough energy or has no energy, is having a hard pregnancy or they're feeling good and energetic and fine, they get to make the decision.
Yeah.
Like, they get to ask themselves that question, and at the end of the day, it's their choice. You know, like, they get to evaluate it for themselves and make the right decision for the event or the trip. But like, you didn't make that decision. You made them feel welcome and invited so that they could make that decision themselves.
To add to that, I also think to make them feel welcome, invited, to allow them to make that decision, it's case by case scenario. So, for example, if you're the bride and you're planning a bachelorette trip, or just a girls trip if you're over the bachelorette phase, if you're planning this trip and you have a pregnant friend that you're inviting on it, like, give her a taste of what it will be like. If it's a Miami club bachelorette, you can say to the friend that you're inviting, the pregnant friend, what I would do personally, I would go to her and be like, hey, listen, you're one of my best friends and I love you so much. I'm inviting you on this trip. It's going to be a great time. Just so you know, the itinerary is Club 11 and Swan and all the crazy Miami clubs. Like, we're kind of going to go hard on this bachelorette trip. You'll be fun regardless because you're an amazing fun person.
But I'm giving you the information.
But giving you the info, and you completely, like, you choose, it's up to you whether you want to come or not. Obviously, would love to have you there. And be okay if she says no. Be okay if she says yes. And yeah, I mean, I guess also just like curate fun friends that are going to be fun regardless.
I also that it does the same thing where it puts it back in the pregnant person's boat, because that I wrote down the same thing. I was like, make sure that the type of trip aligns with what you're capable of right now.
Yeah.
So like, the bride needs to be extra communicative, especially, you know, with that person. And then if you're pregnant and you get that information, like, ask yourself straight up, like, is this the type of trip that I even feel like I could do right now? Yeah. And the rule of thumb is like, you're not obligated to go on that trip whatsoever. Like, if you don't feel good and if you don't feel good about it, don't go. Don't go out of obligation in this scenario. Like, never do that. Only go if you feel like it's going to be fun for you, because if you can't fake the fun.
Yeah, no. What we don't want is you trying to fake the fun. I would go as far to say you're never obligated to go on a bachelorette trip. Which kind of said this on one of the last episodes.
I think that's a more nuanced topic, though, because it's like, is it your sister? Are you the maid of honor? You know, are you the maid of honor, but then she didn't tell you how expensive it was going to be and like had no location in mind. So then now, you know, it's complex. Or you know, just don't feel like it, but she gave you, the bride was nice. Like, the bride did everything she was supposed to do and like gave you all the details, et cetera, and made it cost friendly. Yeah. Like, that's
I just feel like we're getting too old to like be obligated to stuff.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
big.
I don't know. I don't know if I like that take, because I think it's just,
no. Let's talk this out more though in our lover war.
Yeah,
scenarios.
That's case by case. I do think that there are things that you can do as a bride and as a pregnant person, though, that help. I think that as a bride, if you have a pregnant friend going, these are things you don't have to bring to her. Like, you can just silently do. Make sure you're not, like, anything that's, like, too big of a walk. Have that part in your brain be like, yeah, we could walk, but you know what? I'm going to arrange transportation for this because I don't want them, like, pushing themselves to have to, like, walk when their feet hurt, etc. And I don't want to ask them because they're going to be like, no, it's fine. I'll make it work. Just make that call,
Yeah.
Like, make sure that there aren't any extra long walking distances. Make sure that your meals are, like, spaced out in, like, in a good way, or there's access to, like, snacks.
To food. The worst is a bachelorette trip when you're not eating. Like, I've been on trips where, like, food just wasn't even a thought. And I'm like, do we just, like, function off of vibes and alcohol? Like, what?
Yeah.
I want
and
food.
I think some people do. But I think these things, I don't, honestly, if you have a friend that's pregnant, like, you should be wanting to show up for them anyways. So I don't feel like that's too much to ask. Like, put a little extra effort in. Make sure there's transportation for, like, that long walking distances you're on the fence about. Make sure that you're always somewhere where you can order food, or that dinners are not like 10 p.m. after an 11 a.m. lunch. Like, and if it is, that there's some where you can get food at 4. If you're doing a lot of drinking, like, make sure that everyone's on the same page about not making the pregnant friend split the bill with you every single time. Like, clock those things.
That's a good point. I'm usually a big, like, split the bill. Let's just all split it. The easiest, no separate checks. But when it comes to the pregnant friend and there's so much alcohol involved, I actually agree with that. You do not have to, the pregnant friend shouldn't have to be paying for
but
alcohol.
make that call silently before you go on the trip. You're the bride. You make that executive call. It's already established, and then there should be no confusion about it during the trip. The other thing is, my friends don't care if they still split the bill. Like, my 2 pregnant friends, where one just gave birth to her little boy. But I literally asked when we were doing our girls' trip in New York, and they were both pregnant. I was like, you do not need to keep splitting the bill with us.
Oh, and they were like, it's fine.
She was like, and this is a good point, and because she said it and she set the rule, we all were like, cool, this is the way that we'll operate throughout, like, the next 10 years. She was like, I know that there are going to be a lot of days when one of you are pregnant and I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be the same thing the other way around. So
I think that works, though, because you guys are all a friend group and are going to be in the future.
Right.
But my thing is, like, I feel like if my bachelorette party had a bunch of different friends from different groups.
So it doesn't really work in that scenario.
So I wouldn't expect, like, one person to pay for, like, not their friends.
Exactly. So, like, be conscious.
I'm also lazy, so at the end of the day, if I were pregnant, I'd probably be like, just fucking split it. I don't care.
I did think, too, so that those are simple things the bride can do. I think for the pregnant person, a few things you can do to, like, make sure you're having a better experience is, like, ask about the sleeping arrangements. You know, you don't have to, like, put your foot down, but, like, people might not be thinking about that. Like, kindly say, like, if there's a more comfortable bed in the house, or, like, whatever it is, like it would be great if I wasn't on the twin bed.
Yeah. I would also say, like, out of common decency of the friend group and the bride, they should want the pregnant woman to be, like, she shouldn't even have to ask that.
So I guess that's a tip for the bride too then. Like, add that to the list of, like, make sure your pregnant friend has the best sleeping arrangements.
Yeah. I would also just, like, to add to the list of the bride, I would say to your pregnant friend before, like, I would just, like, kind of take her aside and be like, listen, I'm so you decided to come. Yay. I'm so happy you are. Like, I need you to speak up to us and be, like, you are carrying a literal child. I need you to kind of be savage and, like, let me know what you need.
Yeah.
Let me know what you don't need. Like, and I would go as far to say, like, these bachelorette trips, I've been on some where it's a fucking marathon, not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And they're exhausting for somebody who's not pregnant. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine being pregnant, already so exhausted, and having to go from event to event to event, never stopping, never eating, never drinking water. Like, so I would say, as the bride / friends to the pregnant girl, I'd be like, listen, if you need to sit this one event out, like, by all means, please do. Like, if other people, because we've talked about this before, if other friends on The Bachelorette are like, no, I just don't want to go to that dinner tonight, like, and they have no good reason, like, non-pregnant friends, I'm saying, then that's where it's like, well, okay, why? Like, you're on this trip. Like, come on, come
Yeah,
on, come on.
be a
Like,
team
join
player.
in but to the pregnant girl, if she's exhausted and can't rally because she's, again, carrying a child, again, I don't know yet. Because
it's the same expectation as, like, if you go on a boat day and it's expensive, the right thing to do as a bride is to bring it to the group and then price it out with quotes and then say, who is interested, you know? And then if there are a few people that, like, they can't, you know, they don't feel comfortable spending that amount of money, but then there's some that do. It's like, you still do it. Like, if you're the bride and you want to do it. Don't force your friends into it. If that's like not something that they can swing on this trip, let them do a separate activity during that time that's equally fun for them or whatever. You know, it's fine. So I think for the pregnant friend though, getting the activity schedule is one thing, so you know what you want to sit out. But I wrote down, like, find the things that you don't feel like would be fun for you and be proactive. Like, a like prenatal massage for yourself, like at the spa, like during that time. Like, actively arrange for you to use that time to like rest and recuperate and do something that helps if your feet are hurting or you're dehydrated or, you know, all of these things, so that you feel better going throughout the rest of the weekend, or you feel like you got some of that rejuvenation time back, or you just did something for yourself.
Yeah. It must be tough because I'm trying to picture myself being pregnant, going on a bachelorette trip, being like exhausted. Let's say I'm having like a horrible first trimester, like vomiting all over and nauseous. Like, I still have such FOMO where I'd probably try to like rally. You know what? If
my friends that's what my friends do.
If
like,
all timing works out, I'm gonna end up being pregnant on a best friend's, like, that I'll be a bridesmaid in, like, bachelorette. If timing works out. Let's not say anything definite. We know God has other plans. So it'll be interesting to see, because a lot, like, at this point, I'm just trying to relate, because like all my friends are married at this point. A lot of them, all my good ones that I'd be like invited on a bachelorette. Actually, that's not true. I have a couple left, but it'll be interesting if I do. Have to be in
I think that. Yeah, I guess now that you say that, same. It will be interesting. I think that those are just my tips for like advocating for yourself, but then also obviously mainly it's what we can relate to the most is like trying to be a good friend to somebody who's pregnant right now. So it really is in that.
Well, as the bride too, like, you might be sitting here listening, some of you being like, all right, girls, this is a lot of going out of your way when I'm the bride. I don't want to have to go out of my way for my friend, pregnant or not. You might be sitting here thinking that, but I would go as far to say, like, if they're a true to them, then it's kind of worth it. Like, it's not like they're like purposefully gonna try to ruin your bachelorette party by carrying child.
Yeah, but like, be a good friend, because honestly, at the end of the day, they're being a good friend by going on that bachelorette trip while pregnant.
Right.
Timing is not subjective to anything we like plan for or want it to be, and we're really all young, so like hopefully we all have like 60 plus years to go through these events. And if we're sitting here at the age of 30 right now being so harsh in our boundaries of like when we can show up for people, like, I just live by the mantra, like, that's not going to work out well for me for very long. Like, at some point I'm going to have to learn to be flexible or go the extra mile for my friends, or like do things that I, don't 100% serve me right now. So like, get into the habit of it now. Go the extra length for your pregnant friend, because one day she's probably going to go the extra length for you. And she already is by going on the trip.
Yeah. Show up. Do we do some of our lover wars that relate to friendship / this whole scenario?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Okay, this one is a personal one. Your maid of honor can't go on your bachelorette because she's pregnant.
But that was your sister, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which we also just like talked about this whole thing. So obviously for us, it's not war.
That sucks.
That was my sister. I forget if she wasn't too pregnant at this point. She was just about to be like doctor authorized too pregnant to fly to Mexico. But I don't think she was fully at that point. She was just still like very pregnant. And it was Tulum. Mexico, and it was like at the end of COVID, low key.
Yeah, it just it was safe.
Just a lot, and like it wasn't like a quick little trip to the Hamptons or a trip to whatever, like in the States. It was a crazy bachelorette, and once again there were like death scenarios on it. Truly,
yeah,
many. My bachelorette was like, honestly, I need to write a memoir on it one day. Some of the stuff I can't even. I'm making it sound like we like joined a cartel.
I literally the first night my friends went to an area of town they weren't supposed to go to. It was genuine COVID, so Puerto Rico was on lockdown, which means all cars off the street by 10 p.m.
Yeah.
They go missing. It's 11:30. They're calling us. We can't get a taxi back because you're literally in an underground club area and there aren't taxis. Like we had to call somebody and pay them an exorbitant amount of money to go get them and drive illegally after lockdown hours to bring them back to the hotel. She came back bloody from head to toe. No. She'd fallen down stone steps. She's bleeding. Literally, she's bleeding out in the in the hall. One of my friends. She's bleeding out in the hall of the hotel on the 5th floor. I'm trying to bandage her. I think she's like also sick because she's drunk. The hotel security saw us on the footage. And so like 30 minutes later, we're still trying to stop the bleeding. And the elevator opens and this guy's just standing there with like first aid kits. Mm-hmm. He's like, can I help? I'm like, forever I'll be like, I can't believe we didn't get kicked out.
Well, yeah, that's no environment for a pregnant woman.
It's true.
It's dangerous.
Okay, but to answer your question, it's not love or war. Like, it can't be war because she's pregnant, but it's also not love because, like, it's sad.
Well, yeah. So from when my sister told me, she was just like, it's a lot. And I was like, don't even bat an eye. Like, I don't want your big ass pregnant belly on my bachelorette because truly, like, it was.
What a thing to say.
She was so pregnant to the point where I would have been going out of my way to, like, carry her around. Like, and
it would have been hard for everybody.
And like, she was really sad to miss out. We were all really sad to not have her because she's a great time. But I think she did do the perfect stuff, which was like literally sent like a bottle everywhere we went. Like we had a bottle waiting with like amazing shots. And like really did her darndest to make up for it in other aspects.
She was probably sad that she missed it too.
Oh, she was very,
and like
she was like having
and that's why
FOMO.
That's why me and this girl in the email are like extremely anal.
She might have been past the point. I think she was too pregnant to actually go. She was definitely, because she ended up.
You told me she was too pregnant to fly.
I think she was. I think she really was because she was gonna come to when we were planning it in the Hamptons originally. And then we took a sharp turn to Mexico, and she didn't come to that.
The Hamptons is really expensive.
Yeah, it was more expensive
It's
than Mexico.
insane to find a house.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
We were going to do that, and she was going to come to that to drive.
And then, the Hamptons is really like, I don't believe it's a very accessible place, but that's a conversation for a different time.
When we looked into the logistics, it was just going to be $1 trillion per person. But no, it was because she was too pregnant to fly. You're right. But yeah, no, I just think like regardless of not maid of honor, like it's still not war because
no, it can't be. It's just if it's avoidable, avoid it because it's just sad.
I do think though, as the maid of honor, you do have that little extra obligation to like still plan from afar.
Yeah,
like do your best to like maybe set up a decoration thing so once everybody arrives there's a balloon arch or something. Like,
could not agree more.
Or just get really good at like delegating to somebody else that's there that might not even be the maid of honor but like is a really helpful reliable
with people
friend.
I'm a big there should never be one person planning a bachelorette. Everybody gets involved, have a planning committee, you know what I mean? Like nobody should be upset at the end of the day or resentful. They're like, I put so much work into this. There are a lot of people going. Divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody have a nice time. People like to feel involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Your single friend / bridesmaid meets a guy at your batch and ends up going home with him one night while there. Oh, I know of stories like this.
Yeah, this has happened to friends of mine on one. Like I've been on one.
Same. I just think it's too much. It's inconsiderate of the bride.
Yeah.
That's my whole take on it. Do what you want to do, but if you're somewhere that's like the bride already has anxiety about like and went into a lot of planning to make sure there was like transportation and like you don't maybe you don't speak, there's a language barrier. Like there is anxiety about like keeping everybody safe,
Together.
especially when drunk. And sometimes you have friends that like will disappear or like whatever. It's like, it's so inconsiderate, to the bride, because now that's her problem.
That's the thing. Like normally I'm like, to the single friends, I'm like, go to your dick appointment, girl. Like, get your bag. Get your bag.
On a Bachelorette, it just like stresses me out.
Yeah, like, on a Bachelorette, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, it's just kind of.
It's a trip for the girls, like, also, by the way.
Yeah, like if you're gonna pick one weekend to dedicate to your girls, that should be one.
And
like
if you to go home with a guy, you better end up marrying him.
Well, and also
because otherwise, I can't understand how it was worth
it. And chances are you're not. It's
right.
a random guy on a Bachelorette, but like. I just like we forget that like the Bachelorette, the point at the end of the day is to celebrate the bride. So like you ditching and going over, like if you're going to do that, make sure you're back in the morning for the festivities.
Yeah,
but also it's like it can be dangerous.
I think it can be dangerous. I think it's inconsiderate, to the bride and to the point that you're there. I also, this is probably the only time I'll ever say this, I think it's a very interesting example of like I forgot the word, not a double-edged sword, but when you apply one rule to like a group of people but not the other. Like I say this all the time about bachelor parties. I'm like, it's just so gross that guys can't go on a bachelor party and like celebrate their friend. Like there always has to be like girls involved. And I always criticize that when I hear of bachelor parties and they're like the strip club vibe or like whatever it is, or this guy hooked up with this girl or like, and I'm like, why can't guys just hang out with guys, and why does it take them so long to like get to that place where they're comfortable with like there's always just the one guy that's like trying to be snaky, and it's like
there's always a snake
and I always criticize that. So it's like I have to say that's the same way in the girls. Like come on guys, like don't put a bad rap on our names. We're capable of going on girl trips.
The best thing is that like Mike's at the point where all of his recent bachelor parties have been like solely guy trips. And I'm like, you can get a stripper. And he's like, no, we want to golf.
It's a nice era to be in. It's because we like got married young where like our husband's friends were not necessarily like their best versions of themselves yet.
Yeah. One time on my sister's bachelorette, we like to this point of the love of war, like we lost somebody because she found a guy. This was in Vegas.
And were you scared?
I was the maid of honor. I'm the youngest one. I'm 24 when this happened. And I will say I was stressed because she wasn't answering her phone, and she literally wasn't like the next day, like we had to fly home without her, which makes us, they're not friends with this girl anymore. Sorry, I'm like airing all my sister's friend group business. And it's not because of that. Like,
well, that's the problem.
But, yeah, I mean, it put everybody in a stressful situation.
It's selfish. You're putting other people in a hard situation. And I think that, I don't know, in my experience, that adds up with the people that typically do that.
Yeah.
It's not like a conversation of like, let the single girl be single. Because that's not who usually does this. It's like, I mean, it'll be a single girl, but it's like there will be other single girls on the trip that like don't feel like their prerogative is to like find a strange man in a foreign place to go home with.
Yeah.
Like in a city you're not from.
You can do whatever you want at the club, make out.
For sure.
Go to town.
At the point that you're like, I get to do what I want with my life and I can disappear from my group of friends. I'm like, wow, you're missing the part that says
about the Bachelorette.
Now it's everybody else's problem and ruins everybody else's night to come and find you.
Yeah.
And make sure you're safe.
You're making it that's what it is. You're making it about you. And that's what you're not supposed to do on that one weekend. If it's a normal girls trip where you're paying to go and it's not to celebrate somebody specific, like sure why not?
I mean, I still would advise against just like going to a random man's house in a city you're not from, but like,
do I want my future daughter doing it?
No. But you're right, it changes the rules.
Yeah.
I also, like in the scenario where I was cleaning up my friend's blood, I was so upset because they did like disappear and peel off from the group and like thought it was funny and like went to this guy's apartment and like in an area of town that like we had been warned by John, who had been at in the same place weeks before, was like not safe. And like, you know what I mean? And it was during COVID. So it really was like, an underground type of like situation. They couldn't have gotten back to the hotel if they'd tried.
We had a stranded, like gone somewhere we shouldn't have.
And then it became my problem. It was like, Caroline, get us home. Like the whole event, the whole evening became my issue to solve because they didn't think that, it mattered. And it did matter. So I think it's war. The getting stranded is so real on a bachelorette party. Like, why is there never transportation late night wherever? No, there never is. Is that like a controversial take that we don't like that when people do that on a trip?
Yeah.
You think people are
like arranged good transportation?
No, like going home with a guy.
No.
Do you think most people feel that way?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, because again, it's just kind of like selfish. One time on a bachelorette party in Miami, I like walked into a random hotel room and like tried to break up a domestic dispute. It was insane. I like almost my friends were mad at me because I was drunk. And it was really dangerous. Like, I put myself in a really dangerous situation. Well, I heard this girl screaming for her life in a hotel room with a man, and I literally barged in like a Scorpio freak. And I was like, what's going on in here? Too. No, but that's really dangerous. My friends were like, that was dumb. And this violent guy was like, nothing. It's nothing. I forget. It was a blur. But I do remember the girl looking at me and while he wasn't looking at one point, literally looking at me and mouthing like, help me. And so I went down to the lobby and told them, and they got authorities.
Good.
But it was like dangerous.
Did you see how it played out?
No, then we left.
Oh, okay.
But, I wasn't going to like...
Yeah, I would have had to stalk that.
And I was also hammered.
Okay. Love or war? Your friend invites you on her bachelorette trip without knowing / giving any details about it. War. I think we're past that. I think
war.
We've been on enough trips to know like that's not how it works.
Yeah, because those are the ones where your friend will invite you. And then you'll say, sure, love ya, ready to go. And then you find out it's $5,000 per person. And it's somewhere stupid.
Yeah. You have to. I think we've all come to the consensus over the years. The best way to do it is to put the people you really want there in a chat. Ask them, give them a few dates that work for you, of course. See, which date works with the most people or which date works with your like definites that you need there, like if you're going to work the date around people, make sure it's the people that you like really are like, I want you there. Then, say like, how do you feel about this place? Yeah. This would be the cost.
Make it a collaborative
It's got to be collaborative at this point because otherwise friends feel bamboozled and it's just a really easy thing to avoid.
Yeah. And I found from like planning my own bachelorette, having two friends really as the hands-on helpers was really helpful. We had like 14 people on the whole trip.
Yeah.
Two people were really hands-on with me, like booking reservations. I did a lot of the booking of stuff. Like, I'm not a believer in like bride sits back and does absolutely nothing.
Well, I think it takes a really non-anal person to do that.
Yeah, or just like a really anal friend to do it all for you. Like, none of my friends, they wanted to help, but nobody was like, yes, let me take on this full-time job of planning and I think they also like
liked that.
Yeah.
I planned my own. I didn't, but I want my bachelorette party to go a certain way.
But I was always factoring in, like, before we booked anything, it was like going to the group being like, hey guys, I would really love, like, I think it'd be so fun to do a boat day. Thoughts. It's probably going to cost this much. Thoughts. Like, getting everybody's thoughts, because then
I had like 4 girls, including my sisters, not go on the boat day.
Really?
Like, that was fine, honestly.
Because
I liked it that, and you know what? I would have rather it that way than them stretch their wallets just to make the boat day than not have a fun time on the boat day because they're thinking about how much it costs, and then like the pressure's on to have like the best time of their lives, and then to have less fun on the rest of the trip because they spent all their money on the boat day.
Yeah.
Like, everybody had a really good time because nobody felt like they had to force themselves to be there. And that was fine.
Our boat day was the most fun boat day I've like ever had. The
Mine
boat was amazing.
Too. I feel bad that my friends, some missed it, but like, the boat day is the best day.
But I was like, because I remember later that night we had a dinner and some of my friends were like, hey, do you care if we sit the dinner out? Like by this point, this was like the last day. We were all fucking exhausted. And I was like, of course not. You guys have early flights. Like, please, by all means, miss the dinner. And those were the lucky ones who didn't get smoke inhalation from the sparklers. But yeah, but I was like, thank God we all made it on the boat day. Because if you're going to make it to something,
make it to the boat day. The boat day is so fun. I just couldn't recommend it enough.
Wait, this last one we need to discuss quickly because
there's
I think
etiquette we can do them all quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Your friend poses a picture. Your friend poses a picture she looks good in, but you look horrible in. So this is like, I guess like in this context from The Bachelorette, but also in just general, this is such a girlfriend topic that like it has I have so many thoughts on.
It used to bother me and now I just like don't care because
let it rip. Yeah.
Bro, honestly, especially in a picture of two people, if you divided up the pictures you thought you looked good in and they thought they looked good in, there would be no overlap. So
that's what I was going to say. It's all relative. Like there have been photos where I think that my friend looks amazing in, and I'm like, you look hot and wonderful. What? That's like your best side.
And my eyes are closed.
And then my friend's like, no, I look insane.
Oh, right.
And vice versa. Like, I think it's all relative. Like, we're girls. We always think we don't look as good as we should in photos and whatnot. That's what, a little tweak, a little nip and a tuck on an editing app is for. So I'm not above it if you have to. Like, whatever, a little non-noticeable edit.
And also what's pretty to you isn't pretty to them. I mean, it's complex.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think all my friends look amazing all the time. They don't agree. And vice versa. So, I feel like we're just, like, too old. But then again, like, that rule we can set aside because there is an exception to the rule when there is a photo where like objectively
is fugly,
somebody looks so bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it's messed up. It's like
if it was on purpose.
It should never. Then you're like 5.
Yeah.
But that's where it should be like, okay, just fucking pick another. If somebody like noticeably looks fugly,
really, really bad,
and you know they don't look like that.
Do you know what it usually applies to? Is when there's a photo of you, but your friend is in the background that is like mid-sentence or eating or like hunched over.
Edit them out.
Right. I think that's when I see it the most, when I'm like, okay, you just know you have to take one for the team and not share that photo because you would be doing your friend really dirty right now. Like, they're in the background not realizing that they're photographed and you would be doing them dirty.
My thing is too, I mean, this is different for us because when you have a following on social media, your friends are a little more psycho about it, as they should be. Like, before I post any photos with my friends, I get approval. And I feel like it's like, that's just nice to do. You shouldn't have to. I mean, I should, again, because...
because if you're putting it I get what you're saying.
Like, my friends are like, you're not blasting that to 100,000 people, bitch, chill. Like, but... I don't know. I just think I also think though, like we're at the point where like if the bride likes a photo, a group photo, and you know, it's not your best shot, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let her post the photo. Like we're too old to be like, don't post that. I look ugly. You know?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I agree with that one.
I get mad when friends are too sensitive about it. I'm like, I'm like, okay, chill. You look amazing. Like I'm posting it. Bye.
Yeah, sometimes we tell people to chill out, but I think in general it's like, whatever, like, try not to be sensitive about it.
Yeah.
Because you've probably done it to them.
Mm-hmm. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, I agree. We can do this last one. Your best friend doesn't come to your international wedding. I initially was going to say war, and then I was like, actually, international weddings are expensive.
Best friend. It depends. Is she maid of honor? Is she a bridesmaid? That definitely factors in.
Did you spend this is where I really get into it. Is she married? Like, were you selfless with, you know, your spending for her, or were you like had a lot of boundaries up about it and now she's like, so she has boundaries? Like, are you giving what you're putting out basically or not?
Yeah, I agree. And it's all like this needs more context because there are reasons, like we talked about in this episode, too pregnant, too expensive.
Yeah.
Like there's reasons why the best friend could say no to the international wedding. But the perfect example of this is Brooke, one of my best friends, made it to one of my other best friends, Ruby's wedding is in Israel a couple years ago. She had just given birth to her first baby. Naomi was like 3 months old, like super young, for Brooke to like go to Israel and leave the baby at home because she was just like, I don't want to travel with the newborn like to Israel. It was just a lot. And I just remember being like, I don't know what I would do. It was really tough. Like these two are best friends. Ruby didn't do bridesmaids, so there was none of that. But if she did, Brooke would have been one. And I remember being like, Brooke, like you have every right to say no if you don't want to leave your baby. Like,
no. Yeah.
And she really didn't want to. She was like, I don't know what to do. I want to go to this wedding so bad. I don't want to leave my baby. I don't want to bring the baby. I don't know what the fuck to do. And
what did she do?
She ended up coming to the wedding.
And who had Naomi?
Leaving the baby with her mom. Sorry, I'm like not trying to air Brooke's business, but like her mom, like whatever. But I mean, and she didn't come for like the full week before like we did. Like she came for a short amount of time. And Ruby was like so thankful. But Ruby was super cool about it too. She was like, Brooke, if you don't want to come, you have a newborn. Like that is totally fine.
That's my thing with this. All of these scenarios is everything is a two-way street. Like honestly, Brooke doing what she did probably felt a lot easier for her to make an already hard decision or more like happy about the decision she made because Ruby is the type of friend that was really knew how much went into it and didn't take it flippantly. It wasn't like, good, you should be here. It was like, gracious. I'm so happy you're here and I hope you know that if you couldn't have been, like, I would have never faulted you for it.
It was just crazy because like I saw firsthand, like I was helping her like pump for her breast milk. We had to find a freezer at the hotel, which was borderline impossible. They were being like really weird about it at the hotel, like to put the breast milk in. It kind of like fucked up her whole breastfeeding schedule. Like not to make Ruby feel guilty if she listens to this, but like it's a lot.
You're saying it was a big commitment for Brooke to do that.
And to leave her baby. Like I just know how I am with leaving Louis for 4 hours during the day. He's a huge dog. He's fine. But like, I just know when I get to that point, like TBD if I want to leave my baby for a international wedding.
Yeah. But that's, again,
also,
it's
I
like,
forget why she couldn't bring her.
Brooke was a good friend to Ruby and Ruby was a good friend to Brooke, and that makes it easier to be a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wouldn't have made her a bad friend not to go. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that like, it made it easier for her to do something that took sacrifice and was hard for her because she knew that her friend would appreciate it.
She had to plan. She had to sacrifice. And I remember like, she was like, I really miss my newborn baby. Aww. Not to air. We might have to like get her.
But yeah, then we're just saying that it's, what you're saying is don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know about that one, but
love.
That's the tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.
We'll see you next week. Hope you have a good week and happy Valentine's Day week, I believe.
Woo.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.